Bunch of science experiment kids. Then a few of them are slave masters. They're all getting paid though to travel around the world and fuck everybody over and trick everybody, and do evil shit. Social media, social theater, all the world's a stage. The question is are all these kids like donated sperms and eggs with bought wombs or rented wombs or leased wombs that birthed all these children, and then the scientists and the government took it back? Is that what happened? And there's a few adults in charge? Is that what happened? Oh, is it? Look, they're talking about a room in the castle. It's their new thing. Except for, guess what? They're all against the king. Oh, Donald Trump's the evil king. Oh, and they're the fourth branch of government. You got the executive, the legislative, the judiciary, and the Shakespeare. And that's what they call the fourth branch of government here in Washington, D.C. But of course, you know, I think this is probably news to the military and to the police officers. Yeah. And so when you see this woman's hand gesture like this is what they use to control their slaves. And you can see when a young person wants to get out of order, the woman just goes like this. And the young person focuses and does what they're told. The women will do this with their hand. Or this. That. And that's to tell the children, shut the fuck up and do what you're told. They also do they'll stomp on the floor, or they'll hit their umbrella or their cane on the floor one time. And that's their new imagined United States government. Hey, and in DC they got a saying, it's called pay the artist. But guess what my saying is? Fuck that, all artists are crazy. They shouldn't even be involved in any of this shit. They're all fucked up and weird, especially when you blend the arts with science, which is silence with an invisible and silent L. Dig that. And hey, yo, I can't come to y'all's hardcore show because of domestic terror banning me, but I can go around the Supreme Court in Capitol Hill and anywhere else because the police and the military and the government doesn't have a problem with me. Because I'm not really a fucking villain or a piece of shit, like the owners of the pie shop who trap children, let underage drinkers in there, and then they get them all drugged up and fuck them. And that's their plan. That's been a lot of these bar owners who have these all ages shows with children at them. The thing is, this is Washington, D.C., which makes it worse. And their bouncer, Hawk, is the one who runs the interference and in between to communicate with the dirty police they bring in from out of town to handle all the children when they bring in groups of kids to make them be punk rockers at places like the pie shop. The Runaway and Slash Run already were closed down. A lot of problems with these all ages clubs come up all the time worldwide. I remember in Richmond you had Twisters, but their fucking manager was basically coking up and addicting all the young women in Richmond who'd come to the club, and he'd let them in and then he'd fuck them and then pass them on to his friends, or get them pregnant and then tell them to fuck off, because then he'd have more soldiers for his war, more whores for his fucking group. Anyways, fuck the pie shop, fuck Domestic Terror Productions for banning me from their shows, and I guess that means fuck Mortal Ground and anybody in that band as well. I wish I could come to the show, but hey, if Agnostic Front or Murphy's Law, and that's you, Vinny, and you, Jimmy, and you, Roger, and I don't know all of y'all's names, and Violent Way is welcome to attend as well, but the lines here at Congress are getting bloated and big sometimes. You know, people have to practice blocking lines here in DC before they can go block lines in other countries. So if you guys want to visit Congress when you come to town to play your show at the Union Stage on the 4th, just contact me on social media, and basically I'll try and get a way that we can just walk in there without waiting in the stupid fucking line, because there's basically a lot of, well, handlers handling a bunch of groups, and I don't think the police here or the military or the actual real government like it, especially when George Clooney insults the 3 branches of government and says it's time for the 4th branch to step up, and that's them. And George Clooney just said that on social media yesterday. Unless he was hacked like I've been hacked lately. And you know how artificial intelligence is in computer graphics. They can fucking do real good jobs. Is that what y'all did to get your evidence, if you even have any? Good work, stupid idiots. Hey, so I'd really like to come out to see the Agnostic Front and Murphy's Law and Violent Way show coming up here in Washington, D.C. in a couple of weeks, or like a week and a half, except for Adrian, the promoter for Domestic Terror Productions, is on board with the leaders of the pie shop, who basically have accused me of a lie because I accuse them of trafficking children and using their security man Hawk as the one who talks to the dirty cops they bring in from out of town to handle all the children. So I'm sorry I can't come to y'all's show because Adrian from the band Mortal Ground won't let me, who's also from Domestic Terror Productions. All love to New York Hardcore and to DMS worldwide. Oi, oi, oi.
So the other day I was approached by somebody who I've known since childhood named Dan Braun. His brother is Paul Braun. They're the Braun brothers, and they're part of Homeland Security and NSA, the founding of the whole thing. The sad thing is like they're the ones who used to sell me swag dirt weed with shit sprayed on it as a child, which gave me some of the fucked up brain damage issues, and a lot of the people from Northern Virginia and Reston has problems. I saw Dan the other night over here near the Marine Barracks. He approached me, said some dumb shit, and after I told him I've been homeless, he basically told me to fuck off.
Also, Dan's the one that handed me a roll of quarters about 30, well, I was about 20, so it was about 33 years ago in Oregon Hill, when I was in a car with Chris Pools, who still lives in Richmond, after he went to prison for a minute, Dan Braun and Paul Braun. Chris was driving his wife, Gulf Rabbit. Paul Braun was in the front seat, and Dan Braun was in the back seat behind the passenger. I was behind the driver. We were leaving a party in Oregon Hill when, guess what? Some people we knew who I probably shouldn't have been sticking up for, but I jumped into the fight. But I got out of the car, Dan hands me a roll of quarters, and Paul's like, get him. Chris stops the car, I jump out, clock this guy in the fucking head who was fighting with somebody I knew. The dude went down in a pool of blood coming out of his head on the pavement. I'm very sorry for doing that. A lot of people were involved that night from Reston, Virginia and Richmond, Virginia, and old school Richmond, Virginia hardcore. I heard you got a metal plate in your head. I'm sincerely sorry about that. It's one of the things I've thought about basically every day since that happened. And that's really when I stopped fighting, basically, too. That, and when those same people jumped my friend who was home from the military, who eventually became an Army Ranger. They jumped him at my birthday party in Richmond. Same people I jumped into the fight with. So like, and then when he got into my house, they actually smashed in my back window and broke in. And so there was blood on the walls, and me and a couple other skinheads defending my friend Sean Gabler, also known officially as James Gabler. He's a sharp skinhead like me. He joined the military right around the age of 18. And when he graduated, he got out after 4 years. Then he did the Green to Gold program at Embry-Riddle down in Florida. And then he studied aviation electronics and went back in as an officer in the Army. I haven't seen him since his children were ages like 2 and 3 or 1 and 4. One of them's named Peter. One of them's named Owen. Peter's actually named Peter Nathaniel, and they call him Nate. And so, hey, Sean, if you're still around, or if your kids are around, you might have more kids. Your wife was Jen. I hope y'all are all still alive and doing well. I'm sorry I couldn't have kept them resting assholes from jumping you that time, but guess what? Most of them are dead from drug overdoses, basically. And that's true. I think the only one that's still alive would be Jay Richardson. He's roaming around Northern Virginia with kids with like 4 or 5 different women, being a regular resting piece of shit. Anyways, that's who founded your NSA and your Homeland Security, and who's like protecting the nation, is the people that used to sell me swag dirt weed with fucking weird chemicals sprayed on it in high school in Reston, Virginia. Graduated with them in South Lakes High School class of 1990. And then afterwards, they've gone on to protect the nation while letting their friends starve in the streets, or who they used to call brother till the end, which is me. Well, fuck you guys, and fuck you personally from me, Nathaniel Shellhays Vizdos, who used to be called Than Vizdos in high school. That's right. But now I'm so-called the artist Nate from DC. And I'm not quite as infamous as the Doobie District. However, if I'm able to beg some money today because I was robbed at the transitional halfway house where I live, if I'm able to beg some money, I'll go get some cannabis. But first, I'm going to go inside here, Congress, and go chill out downstairs for a few minutes, because that's what I like to do. Figure out how to save our country that seems to have gone down in the toilet with a bunch of diarrhea and toilet paper, and it got clogged, and no one can seem to figure out how to unclog it. except for just making more and more fake money up. I guess so the gangsters and the shitbags can keep paying everybody to do dirty and say they never saw nothing or heard nothing. Ah well, reporting live from DC.
You know what's funner than that? Throwing your phone up in slow motion. It's even funner to throw your phone in the air in slow motion. Nah, this ain't chroma key neither. And yeah, those are all real. This is all real. Why don't more people come out to DC except for all these paid actors? There's a lot of people that get trained to be activists and political people. They get trained by the Corcoran School of Arts, NYU Experimental Theater, UCLA Experimental Theater, and right over here behind the Library of Congress and the Supreme Court at the Shakespeare's Folger Theater. And that's how the United States kind of tricks people and screws over the world, because they train here in DC, then they go all over the world and they pretend to have different accents depending. And they use brands and hand signals and symbologies to teach them how to be organized worldwide. They don't have to know each other how to work in synergy. It's kind of like being on a football team and knowing the same common plays that everybody knows. And they go right now by Volo, V-O-L-O, we play so you don't have to, or some shit like that. And they also, well, I'll leave it at that. They also feign like they're part of the Poor People's Campaign. The Poor People's Campaign was started by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. before he was murdered by the United States government, around the same time Malcolm X was murdered by the United States government. And the thing is like this, Dr. King founded the Poor People's Movement, yet they don't really help the poor people, because if they did, they'd fucking help me. And I go to Shiloh Baptist Church, where guess what? They have a big sign out front that says Poor People's Movement, and they also let the Volo people practice. And that's Shiloh Baptist Church at 9th and P here in Washington, D.C., Northwest. They also have the holy man for the United States, Priest Bowen. And Priest Bowen worked for the mayor's office and now the White House to help the indigent, the homeless, and other downtrodden people. But guess what? He doesn't help me neither. So it just goes to show you why I don't go to Shiloh Baptist anymore. Ah, well.
Too bad. I guess they're not really people of God. They just trod on the people of God, meaning they walk on us. And let me be clear, this is the same kind of people that are upset when I'm reporting live that there's not an extra 10 to 14,000 people in the Navy Yard, which we're supposed to report back to week about a month and a half, 2 months ago. There's no extra cars, there's no extra people, but guess what? Military police are now at the gate instead of security, rental security. And when I was walking by, there was somebody who was like, why are you happy that there's MPs there, military police, and not rent-a-cops? And I'm like, what do you mean, why? Where the fuck are all the people? And then everybody's hush. Hush. But it's okay, because they all get the money. That's why we have trillions of dollars in debt, is to pay all these people. But the other problem is this. The scientists have been collecting sperm and eggs for a long time. A lot of these kids are possibly science experiments, but they had to get wombs. So they went to poor countries or poor neighborhoods and got poor people, women, to carry all these eggs and sperm. When you fertilize them together, it's called a zygote. So where do they keep these sperm logs, these goo logs? Where do they keep these star logs with the star dates and what's going on? And how many professional gigantic actors and musicians started out with nothing and masturbated into a cup as a jerk off, or donated eggs, I'm gonna use a Pittsburgh term, as a jag off? You donate eggs, you're a jag off. You donate sperm, you're a jerk off. I never have. But rest in Virginia, knee deep in the evil, and they experimented on me a lot as a child. Fuck you all.